Well, good afternoon. Today has approved massive new tuition increases for several programs at the University of Alberta. These increases are anywhere from 16 to up to 104%. This represents thousands of dollars of new annual costs for Albertans hoping to pursue a post-secondary education. And for many students, that means new debt or not even having access to these programs at all. According to the U of A documents, an undergrad BCom, for example, will see their tuition grow by 22%, reaching almost $10,000 a year. A student studying to be a pharmacist will see an increase of 44%, paying an additional $5,000 per year. Those seeking an MBA will see a 71% increase for an additional $10,000 to their tuition, from $14,000 to almost $25,000. Most alarmingly, in a time where more mental health supports are needed, this UCP government is doubling the cost to become a counseling therapist, from $4,300 to $8,600 per year. The UCP is forcing crushing new costs onto students while also making life more expensive in so many other ways. It's unconscionable that they would create such huge barriers to young Albertans trying to build a career here in our province. This no-help budget will push post-secondary education out of reach for some Albertans and push others to pursue their careers outside of our province. This is all on top of the UCP forcing Albertans to pay more income tax, property tax, more school fees, camping fees, more for car insurance, more for utilities, more for so much more. This no-help budget is another reason why the Albertans simply cannot trust this UCP government. Be happy to take any questions.
So what are you calling for exactly? To back to where they were before? And if we do that, then the university is losing out thousands of dollars. How do we get that?
Well, the University of Alberta and other universities and colleges should never be in this position in the first place. We've seen a generational increase to tuition on the baseline of more than 7% a year, moving through 21 or 24% during this UCP term. What is needed is to make sure that tuition is affordable, that you don't even entertain the possibility of these extraordinary tuition increases, which quite literally close the door for many people to even consider studying in these programs. We need to make sure that you're tying tuition to the cost of inflation. I've put out a discussion paper in that regard of how to make tuition more affordable, and this UCP government needs to wise up and stop gouging students.
Right, but so let's say we go back to whatever the original increase was going to be, like a more reasonable based on inflation. That's still a significant amount of money now that the university is going to say, like, they're not increasing these things for fun, they're increasing because they say they need the cash. So what would you do to make up the cash that they would be able to get?
Oh yeah, I mean, this falls squarely on this UCP government. I mean, universities, colleges, and polytechnics are just scrambling to keep the lights on, quite frankly. What underlies this is an extraordinary decrease and cut to operating grants of our 26 universities and colleges across the province. And so you must stop making those kinds of cuts. More than $690 million taken out of the system since this government took power. And then you provide room to have tuition more reasonable, right? Because if our young people don't go to school, it's quite literally we're losing our best economic opportunity for diversification. And for a lot of people, quite literally, you lose those young people. They will simply move away.
Can you touch on what it means, like in the UCP logic of, trying to spur economic growth, but not investing in the universities that usually are recognized as spurring some innovation that is important for this growth? Do you see any illogical thought process here?
Well, it seems as though the UCP has it out for universities and colleges. They seem to want to make cuts intentionally. I think they want to privatize more of our college and university education, and that simply means that lots of students, young people, and people wanting to retrain will simply be left out. of the mix. And as I said before, the best way to get ahead, the best way to get ahead as a province as well, is to invest in post-secondary. So it defies the logic, quite frankly. You should ask them. I will today, again, in question period.
Just to be clear, do I understand this would not touch Campus Saint-Jean, according to your understanding?
These are extraordinary increases in, I think, MBA, pharmacy, counseling, and some other programs. So if it does intersect with any Faculté Saint-Jean offering anything in those areas, then it could. I'll have to check on that for you.
I think we heard before from the schools that the programs they've selected are professional programs with potential for like higher income for graduates of these programs. How do you respond to that argument that like these students, they're going to be okay, they can take out loans and make up for these tuition?
Well, first of all, that this simply slams the door for many people that could not begin to afford these programs. Right? You see an extraordinary increase, for example, an MBA going up 71%. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy where you have high-income earners from high-income families being able to take those loans when for other people that door is simply shut. And then the system, the cycle carries on and on and on. I mean, this UCP government is interested in privatization of so many programs, universities here obviously as well, and that leads to a whole lot of people just simply being left out.
One last question.
Sure.
10 years ago, this very spring in Quebec, there was a move by the Charest government, we're talking about Jean Charest, to hike the tuition by 75% over 5 years, and it caused a massive uproar, and students striked for about 8 months, if I recall. Why do you think it's not causing huge reactions here?
Well, I think that Albertans are still a bit in shock as to how methodical and how unprecedented these attacks on the post-secondary education are. We've never seen anything like this before from 40 years of conservative governments. Of course, we were investing, and now suddenly the UCP turns the guns onto the post-secondary system, increasing tuition by an unprecedented amount, making cuts that we've never seen before. So yeah, I mean, people are starting to notice for sure. We're losing programs, and for the reputation that takes generations to build for our universities, you lose it quite literally in a matter of months with this kind of attack.
Any other questions on the floor?
Thank you.
That's all from David Eggen. Now we'll have Emily Shannon-Phillips.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's shocking that these massive tuition hikes are coming on top of a billion-dollar income tax grab and, of course, increasing the cost of student loans as well considerably. But yesterday, the finance minister confirmed during estimates that over the course of the government's fiscal plans, they are looking to collect $1 billion in additional personal income taxes through simply allowing inflation to eat away more at our personal income tax. So Jason Kenney used to call the federal Liberals bracket creeps for using this exact same dishonest method of hiking income tax. But now that he has the power to charge taxes himself, in his very first budget, in fact, in fall of 2019, Jason Kenney himself became the bracket creep. This $1 billion tax grab comes on top of the UCP forcing Albertans to pay more property tax, school fees, more tuition, more student debt interest, more camping fees, more for car insurance, more for utilities. Despite the soaring energy prices we're seeing right now, this is a no-help budget for families. There is, of course, the fake natural gas program, an insulting $50 electricity rebate for people staring down bills of $700 or more over the winter. And so, again, this is a budget that is completely out of step with the reality for Alberta families. People are just stuck with an ever-mounting pile of bills on the kitchen table. Albertans can't trust the UCP. Thank you, and I'll take your questions.
Start on the floor.
On another topic, and I realize that you weren't premier, but we're now seeing that the premier is going to be having a weekly radio show on Chorus Network, and I'm wondering, what do you think of that?
It smacks of desperation for a premier that is deeply unpopular, that is deeply embattled within his own party, and indeed the vast majority of Albertans are very dissatisfied with his leadership, with his incompetent management, with their rising cost of living, and they do not trust him. I do not think that a call-in show will solve Jason Kenney's problems because they are so incredibly profound, and he has broken trust with so many Albertans. I suspect he would be better off to spend his Saturday morning talking about the people whose bills I was just talking about, who are mounting up at the kitchen table as they're opening those bills on Saturday mornings, having more substantive, real conversations with ordinary people about the effect of his policies. Would be a better use of his time instead of this sort of desperate and pathetic political move.
If the opposition was offered such a slot, a 1-hour radio show program, would you take it?
Well, that's never happened, so it's a hypothetical.
Will you be seeking it as your business ballot?
I think that we can leave Jason Kenney to his little adventure of trying to carefully curate his staffers' time on a Saturday morning to call in, to put his thumb on the scale for a call-in show. We've got better things to do. We are reaching Albertans through a variety of ways, including on their doorsteps, including through events coming up, and those ways of connecting with voters, including speaking to the public via the media, such as yourselves, including speaking to the public in a more direct way via social media. We have a number of tools. Albertans are also reaching out to us through the Alberta's Future Project and other structured consultations. The fact of the matter is that we don't need to seek out this kind of curation of a call-in show to pump up our leaders' tires because the fact is that she is not so deeply distrusted, unpopular, and does not need to avail herself of the kinds of desperate tactics that Jason Kenney needs.
Shannon, can I get you to summarize what you think of this show for Premier Kenney on Chorus Network in French?
Oh dear, I didn't practice it. Let's.
Je peux vous poser la question en français si vous voulez.
On va pratiquer un peu, on va voir. Okay.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez du fait que le premier ministre va avoir à partir de cette fin de semaine une émission de radio au réseau Chorus pour parler aux Albertains supposément directement? C'est une émission où ils peuvent appeler.
Alors, M. Kenney a besoin de ce petit truc-là parce qu'il est franchement pas très populaire, parce que son leadership n'est pas... il a des problèmes internels pour son leadership, et puis personne... Just let me get back to that one. Il a besoin de faire ces petits trucs-là parce que il a besoin de... Okay, I am tired. I did have 6 hours of estimates yesterday. Let me see if I can try it again. What's that?
If there's a word you're looking for, I can...
Trust.
Confiance.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Alors, nous avons ici un premier ministre qui a perdu la confiance des Albertains et c'est pour ça qu'il a besoin de faire cette petite aventure-là. Nous n'avons pas besoin de faire ça comme NPD. Nous parlons avec les Albertains en diverses situations tous les jours et puis nous avons fait des connexions avec des millions de citoyens ici en Alberta. Nous n'avons pas besoin de prendre le temps de nos employés pour téléphoner à un show de radio.
Merci.
We got there. See? We got there together. Yeah.
Question of clarification on that $1 billion figure.
Yeah, sure.
Is that just the personal income tax, or does that include the de-indexation of benefits as well?
No, that's just the PIT piece. So it took us, quite a while to get there with the finance minister yesterday during estimates, but finally we did get there. And so this is the cumulative from what they would have, or more, how much more they are collecting because they are not indexing the brackets to inflation for the 19, 20, 21, 22, and the forecast fiscal period. And so Minister Toews yesterday confirmed with us, we knew that it was about up to about 196 because it grew every year, right? Because inflation upon inflation. And then he confirmed that for the forecast period, it was about $200 million a year. He would not give us the precise number, but we did get at that figure, which then over the course of their budgets adds up to $1 billion.
Can I ask what you think the private member's bill to it would arguably lead to more transparency about how public health orders are decided because it would have to be discussed in the legislature, and I know transparency is something we should be calling for. So what do you think of the bill?
Well, the fact of the matter is that there are no epidemiologists on the floor of that legislature. I am not one. Todd Lowen is not one. Jason Kenney is not one, although sometimes he has liked to play one on TV. The fact of the matter is that these are the sorts of decisions in order to maintain confidence of the citizens, for business continuity, for schools planning, healthcare system planning, and so on, that these decisions rightfully belong with as good advice coming from healthcare professionals, scientists, and others. And that is why we have called from the very beginning, when it became very, very clear that Mr. Kenney was politicizing pandemic management, which resulted in such chaos and mismanagement on his part, that's why we called for an independent body, such as they have in Ontario, a public health and science table to provide advice to the Premier and Cabinet, and to provide a much more transparent process for decision making there. This what this would do is give disproportionate voice to the UCP backbenchers that have indulged all manner of vaccine disinformation, of just plain falsehoods,